She should be in jail too as well.
Well, talk to your attorney.
They were warned not to come to my home. They were threatening to harm me. She's just as much responsible for this as I am. She should have stopped him.
I tried.
No, you didn't.
In the late hours of December 24, 2024, tragedy would strike when a gay man kills his gay partner for impregnating a woman. On the surface, Keyshawn and Khalid seemed inseparable. Two men building a life together, bound by love and trust. But behind closed doors, a secret was growing. A secret that would ignite jealousy, betrayal, and ultimately, murder. Khalid discovered what no partner in his position ever expects to hear. Keyshawn had crossed a line, living a double life, and he had impregnated a woman. What Keyshawn didn't expect was he wouldn't be alive to see his child be born. What investigators would soon uncover revealed something far darker than a relationship gone wrong. This was a story of obsession that spiraled out of control, where the decision to leave was met not with acceptance, but with bullets. In fact, cases like this echo many of the stories we've covered before. Do you remember the case of a 42-year-old woman who killed her younger wife after 5 years of marriage? If you have not watched this, I will leave the link at the end of this video. Now let's look at the life and death of Keyshawn Stewart. 35-year-old Keyshawn Stewart, originally from Longview, Texas, had been living in Phoenix, Arizona at the time of the shooting. Born in 1989, Keyshawn grew up in a loving family where the values of kinship and loyalty were paramount. From an early age, Keyshawn was known for his caring nature, always willing to lend a hand to anyone in need. His friends and family described him as someone who could be counted on in any situation, a man who valued his relationships above all else. Keyshawn's heart was as big as his personality, and he built a reputation as the protector of his family. Whether it was his parents, siblings, or close friends, Keyshawn's loyalty was unwavering. By his early 20s, Keyshawn was already a father, embracing the challenges of parenthood with open arms. He had 2 children, and those who knew him could see how much fatherhood meant to him. He worked hard to provide for his kids, constantly striving to give them a stable and loving home. Despite juggling various jobs and personal obstacles, Keyshawn always made time for his children, whether it was helping with homework, taking them to school events, or simply spending time together. His children were his world, and he took pride in being their role model. But as he grew older, Keyshawn explored new aspects of himself. Having dated women during his younger years, he eventually found himself exploring relationships with men. While this was a significant shift for some, Keyshawn embraced this part of his identity without shame. It was a personal journey that allowed him to be more authentic with himself and those around him. He found peace and clarity in his relationships, which was a stark contrast to the confusion and judgment he had sometimes faced. Keyshawn's exploration of his identity wasn't always easy. The world around him was not always kind to people who didn't conform to its traditional expectations. But Keyshawn remained resilient. He learned to navigate his personal life with confidence and grace, refusing to let others' opinions or prejudices define him. His life became a blend of self-acceptance, love, and understanding. He was no longer searching for approval from anyone but himself, and this newfound freedom gave him a sense of inner peace. It was during this time that he met 33-year-old Khalid Williams, a man who would later become the center of both his joy and his destruction. At first, their connection was strong. The two men shared laughter, secrets, and moments of love that seemed unshakable. But beneath the surface, cracks began to form. Their relationship, which lasted for 6 years, became increasingly toxic. Friends recalled arguments that escalated into shouting matches, moments of jealousy, and a tension that never seemed to fade. Still, despite the chaos, Keyshawn tried to make it work. He wanted stability, but what he found instead was a storm that never ended. By October 2024, Keyshawn made a decision that would ultimately seal his fate. He ended the relationship. It was a difficult step, but one he felt was necessary for his peace of mind. He wanted something different, something healthier, and above all, he wanted a future where he could truly be happy. And soon, he found it. After leaving Khalid, Keyshawn reconnected with a woman who brought joy back into his life. Their relationship quickly blossomed, and before long, she became pregnant. For Keyshawn, this was not just a relationship. It was a second chance. A chance to return to the life he had once dreamed of: family, love, and stability. But for Khalid, the news was devastating. To him, Keyshawn's pregnancy announcement wasn't just about moving on. It was about betrayal. And his heartbreak quickly turned into an obsession that consumed him. It was December 23, 2024, just 2 days before Christmas. While families across Phoenix were preparing for the holidays, Keyshawn and his pregnant girlfriend were about to face a nightmare. According to reports, they drove to Khalid's apartment near 17th Avenue in Maryland. Accounts differ on why they went there. Some say it was to settle a dispute about a car that Khalid had been paying for but Keyshawn still owned. Others suggest Keyshawn was trying to resolve lingering issues with Khalid before fully moving on. Whatever the reason, the decision would prove to be a mistake. As soon as they arrived, tensions flared. Neighbors would later report hearing raised voices, the kind of heated argument that hinted at unresolved anger. Inside the apartment, the conversation quickly deteriorated into a fight. But then in an instant, words turned into violence. Keyshawn and his girlfriend attempted to leave, hoping to de-escalate the situation. They got into their car, preparing to drive away. But as the engine started, Khalid would appear, but his hands not empty. He was holding an AK-47 style rifle. Khalid was no stranger to crime. A convicted felon, he wasn't even supposed to have a gun, but that didn't stop him from acquiring an AK-47 style rifle. He raised the weapon and opened fire. Bullets tore through the car in rapid succession, more than 25 rounds. Windows shattered, glass sprayed across the seats, and the car shook under the barrage of fire. One of the bullets struck Keyshawn in the back of the head. His girlfriend, 3 months pregnant with his child, screamed as blood poured onto the seat. She clutched him desperately, trying to shield her unborn child, while watching the man she loved collapse beside her. The scene was chaotic. In that moment, what should have been a quiet December evening had transformed into a bloodbath. But the truth, however, was even more horrifying than anyone imagined. This was not just a crime of passion. As investigators would soon discover, it was an act of premeditated rage, one that would change the lives of everyone involved, forever. By the time the gunfire stopped, Keyshawn Stewart was slumped in his seat. Khalid stood outside, weapon in hand, his anger unleashed in the most violent way possible. And yet the story was far from over, because what happened after the shooting would not only expose Khalid's deadly obsession, but would also reveal the strength of a woman who refused to be silenced. Phoenix police responded within minutes. The sound of more than 25 gunshots had sent neighbors into panic, and multiple 911 calls flooded in almost simultaneously. By the time officers arrived, the scene was beyond horrifying. A black car sat riddled with bullet holes, its windows shattered and blood staining the interior. Inside, 35-year-old Keyshawn Stewart lay slumped in his driver's seat, his head bleeding from a gunshot wound. His pregnant girlfriend was by his side, trembling, clutching her stomach and screaming for help.
Paramedics immediately rushed to pull her out of the vehicle. Despite her own shock, she kept begging the EMTs to save her boyfriend. But while the paramedics focused on Keyshawn, the police focused on something else. Just as officers began securing the scene, they spotted the suspect. The shooter was still on the property. Standing outside the apartment complex was Khalid. He was calm, too calm for someone who had just unleashed more than 25 rounds from an AK-47. Neighbors later recalled that he didn't try to run, didn't try to hide. He simply waited, as if resigned to whatever came next. When officers confronted him, Khalid didn't resist. He raised his hands, allowing himself to be handcuffed. The rifle, still warm from the gunfire, was recovered nearby. But while he surrendered without a fight, the scene around him told a far darker story. On the ground beside him, shell casings littered the area. Police counted 25 spent rounds in total. It was a scene of devastation, one that immediately told investigators this was not a crime of passion that had spiraled out of control. This was deliberate. This was targeted. And the target, investigators soon realized, was fighting for his life. Keyshawn was rushed to a nearby hospital, but the damage was catastrophic. The bullet that struck him in the head had caused severe trauma. Doctors worked frantically, but within hours, he was pronounced dead. But as doctors deliver the heartbreaking news, another voice would give investigators their first glimpse into what really happened. His girlfriend, still in shock, gave her first statement to police from the hospital. Through tears, she described the terrifying moments inside the car. While they were leaving and he was shooting at them, one of the bullets struck her boyfriend in the back of the head, causing the car to crash. He landed on her belly and she held him as long as she could. Her words painted the picture of a brutal reality. This was not just about the loss of a partner. She was also carrying the unborn child who would now never know his father. Investigators would soon learn that the shooting wasn't just about the breakup. It had been fueled by months of obsession and escalating threats. And those threats would uncover a chilling timeline of years in the making. Police quickly pieced together the background. According to the girlfriend, she and Keyshawn had only been together for a short time, but their relationship had blossomed quickly. She was 3 months pregnant with his child, and they were preparing to start a new chapter of life together. But Keyshawn's past was always a shadow around them. For 6 years, he had been in a relationship with Khalid Williams. That relationship, by all accounts, had been toxic. When Keyshawn left Khalid in October 2024, things did not end peacefully. Khalid began sending threatening messages, calling repeatedly, and trying to convince Keyshawn to come back. But just when it seemed like he might finally move on, he discovered something that sent him over the edge. Keyshawn's girlfriend was pregnant. To Khalid, this wasn't just moving on, it was betrayal. It was proof that Keyshawn had started over, leaving him in the past. Detectives later revealed that on the night of the shooting, Keyshawn and his girlfriend had gone to Khalid's apartment to settle a dispute over a car. Keyshawn still owned the vehicle, but Khalid had allegedly been making payments on it. The argument escalated, and as Keyshawn tried to leave, Khalid armed himself with the AK-47 and opened fire. 4 days after the shooting, Khalid appeared in court. The man once described as a boyfriend and partner now stood before a judge facing the reality of his actions. But his behavior in the courtroom showed he wasn't ready to face that reality. When asked if he had anything to say, Khalid couldn't stay quiet even as his attorney urged him to remain silent. He claimed they had been warned not to come to his home, accused them of threatening him, and insisted that the pregnant woman was just as responsible because she hadn't stopped it. His words made it clear, rather than remorse, Khalid was clinging to blame. The courtroom fell silent. To everyone listening, it was evident Khalid wasn't taking responsibility. Instead, he was shifting the weight of his actions onto others, even the woman who had barely survived that night.
Tonight we're hearing from the accused gunman in a deadly shooting that happened in Central Phoenix this week. The suspect arrested on multiple charges, including first-degree murder.
4 days after 35-year-old Keyshawn Stewart was shot and
Full name and date of birth, please.
we're seeing and hearing from 33-year-old Khalid Williams, the man accused of pulling the trigger.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
On Monday, Phoenix police were called near 17th and Maryland Avenues after reports an argument led to a shooting. According to a police report, Khalid told authorities he and Stewart had been in a long-term relationship, but recently split after Stewart began seeing someone else and possibly getting the woman pregnant. The two came to speak with Khalid at his apartment when the fight began. As Stewart and the girl were leaving, Khalid claims he accidentally fired his weapon.
I was in the incident when it happened. I was there.
Stewart's girlfriend speaking to the judge Friday.
Were you in the vehicle
Yes, sir, I was.
that was shot at?
I'm also 3 months pregnant with this child.
With somebody's child.
Asking Williams receive no bond.
While we were leaving and he was shooting at us, one of the bullets hit my boyfriend in the back of the head, which is what caused us to crash the car. And he landed on my belly, and I held him. I wake up screaming every night. My son will never know his father.
The state, though, asking for a $1.5 million cash-only bond, which the judge accepted.
Mr. Williams was allegedly in possession of this AK-47 style rifle, although he is a prohibited possessor.
The police report states Khalid told officers he didn't know what made him do it, other than the stress and drama of their relationship, and that the only thing he could do was accept responsibility and pray for forgiveness.
She should be in jail too as well.
Well, talk to your attorney about it.
He also spoke at the hearing Friday, despite the judge telling him to stay silent.
They were warned not to come to my home. They were threatening to harm me. She's just as much responsible for this as I am. She should have stopped him.
I tried.
No, you didn't.
Khalid now facing several charges, including first-degree murder and murder in the second degree. He'll be back in court in January.
Khalid Williams was charged with first-degree murder for the death of Keyshawn Stewart, attempted murder for shooting at Keyshawn's girlfriend who survived, illegal possession of a firearm as Khalid was a convicted felon, prohibited from owning weapons, and aggravated assault tied to the violence of the attack. The judge set his bond at $1.5 million cash only, citing the severity of the crime and his prior convictions. Meanwhile, investigators emphasized the brutality of the attack. This wasn't a split-second decision. Khalid fired more than 25 rounds. He wanted to make sure no one walked away. Keyshawn Stewart's family was shattered. To them, he wasn't just the victim of a headline. He was a son, a brother, and a devoted father. His relatives spoke openly about the pain of losing him. In Phoenix, the story spread quickly. Many saw it not only as a tragic love story turned deadly, but also as a cautionary tale about obsession, jealousy, and control. Community leaders spoke about the danger of ignoring red flags in toxic relationships. They warned that when someone cannot let go and begins showing signs of control and threats, it often does not end with arguments. It can escalate into violence. They stressed the importance of taking these signs seriously before it becomes too late. Friends described Keyshawn as loyal and family-oriented. He often expressed how much he loved being a father, sharing that his children were his reason to keep pushing forward. Those closest to him recalled that he wanted nothing more than peace. His dream was to build a future with his new girlfriend and raise his children in a safe, loving home. The tragedy, they said, was that he never got the chance. What followed was a community's heartbreak, culminating in a final farewell that left an unforgettable mark. On a chilly winter morning, family and friends gathered at a church in Phoenix to say goodbye to Keyshawn. The atmosphere was heavy, the pews filled with mourners. At the front of the church, a photo of Keyshawn smiling brightly stood beside his casket. His loved ones remembered him not for the violence of his final moments, but for the joy he brought into their lives. What do you think about it? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.